Okay, call to order and welcome everyone to the Monday, July 1st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, Town of Sykesville. And our first order of business is the approval of the May 6, 2024 minutes. Does anybody have any comments or issues with those? In that case, I move to approve those minutes. Seconded. Brandon? Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Good to move on. County updates. I'm guessing everybody's had the chance to read it. Does anybody have any questions or issues? No, Kevin, we don't have any fall amendments for water and sewer or anything like that, so it's just informational in that case. So let's move on to our business agenda, which is ongoing projects, review and updates, and our staff report from Kevin.
Yeah, so appreciate everyone being here tonight. I don't like to go too many consecutive months without getting everyone together. And there's several ongoing projects we got around town that will require Planning Commission action, hopefully in the near future. So these include the Schoolhouse Road subdivision, the automotive garage at 7306 Springfield Avenue, otherwise known as the Joy property, and also the enclave at Parkside. In addition to that, there's been some changes to the stormwater infrastructure over at the Parkside neighborhood, which is going to have an impact on the stormwater management plan at the enclave. So I'll get into a little bit more detail about that, but staff felt that this would just be a good time to go over some of these projects and give some updates about what's going on. So with the Schoolhouse Road subdivision, I know we talked about this a little bit in our last Planning Commission meeting, but in May, the Board of County Commissioners did adopt the amendment to the county's water and sewer master plan to remove that property from their water service area, which will allow the developers to go forward with their plan using private well water at the new parcels. The county is still awaiting final approvals from MDE, Maryland Department of Environment, on that amendment. So it hasn't officially gone all the way through yet, but I was told that's more of just a waiting game, more of a formality. But we do anticipate getting an updated preliminary plan from the developers after we get state approval. I reached out to the developers for an update. I gave them a call, shot them an email. I haven't heard anything back yet. So I'm going to try them again a little bit later in July. But it's been a while since I've talked to them.
Do you remember how many houses are involved in that? It's a long time.
4 or 5.
Five houses, yeah, because given the zoning, that's the max that they can put up there. It's 5 houses on 3 to 5 acre lots. I remember back in the day too, Jerry, you asked about if anyone looks at how new wells might impact existing wells.
Just about to ask it again.
Yeah. So I did call. So we don't, as a town, look at that. I called the county. The health department would be the ones to look at that. They said the only thing that they do is enforce a 10-foot setback from wells to their neighboring property lines. But other than that, that's as far as they really take it. So it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of review that goes into impacts on the existing water table when they're putting new wells in. So
Do we know how deep their wells are going to be?
I'm not sure how deep these wells specifically are going to be. I don't know, but that's something we can certainly get answered once we get the plan, get the developers in front of us. Next project, so the service garage is 7306 Springfield Avenue, or the Joy property. So as we all know, there was a text amendment to the business local zone. And following that text amendment, the property did receive conditional use approval for an automotive service garage. And Planning Commission will need to approve a site plan prior to any construction activity taking place on that property. Again, I did reach out to the owners, and they told me that along with their engineers, they are working on a site plan. They told me that they're hoping to have it done soon, but they didn't give any timetable for what soon means. So that could be next month, that could be next year. But they are working on it.
Okay.
The big one, Parkside at Warfield. So this one was pretty interesting. So we pretty recently as staff just became aware that the stormwater management facilities at the Parkside neighborhood were not constructed per the approved plan. So basically that means the existing facilities are not able to treat the volume of water that was required in the approved plan for that neighborhood. And so now what's going on is the project owners, the developers are attempting to correct that by rebuilding some of the stormwater management facilities. But it's pretty much been determined that even after those facilities are built, the new volume is still going to be less than what they initially were supposed to provide for. So the developers worked with the county to come up with a compromise, and the compromise that I've been told that they've come up with is whatever volume that they are not able to account for at Parkside once the new facilities are finished, they're gonna make up for at Enclave. So they're
Doesn't water go downhill?
it does, yes, so, but it's my understanding that by adding the additional treatment uphill, it'll mitigate the downhill effects. I'm not a stormwater engineer. I asked this question. They said that, they feel like it can be done successfully without having any issues. They can capture that volume and keep it from actually running off, keep it from being surface runoff coming down the hill.
And right now, that's just a big field
Yes.
and weird berms, probably catching some of the water.
Right.
And that's, okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna put in like rain gardens and that's gonna somehow miraculously
That'll take care of
solve the issue.
Well, then, so
That's just hard to believe.
Right. Well, what's yet to be determined, is exactly how much extra volume they're going to have to make up for, and if that's just going to be one small additional BMP, or if they're going to have to totally rework their stormwater plan for Enclave. It's, I've talked to a bunch of different folks over at the county, from the development review folks, the stormwater engineers, the grading inspectors over there. And I'm, to be honest, still a little bit confused as to how this whole thing came about, especially because, one of our big concerns was that it happened, or at least started to happen, without any notification of, for us.
So did the inspectors go out from the county during construction? Because I would assume that they would have caught it during that portion. And they would have had to sign off on it. They would have had to done
Yeah, so
permitting.
I'm not sure why it didn't get caught during inspection. The county is saying it was a developer error. The developer is saying, they built it per the plan.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand that. I mean, as I understand it, there's an as-built certification
Right.
that has to be signed off on.
Yeah, so I guess
45 days after completion.
where I was told the issue arose was that, and I think this is, sounds to me like it was an issue in the development or in the review process of the plan on the county level, was there was discrepancies in the grading plan and the stormwater plan, because to build these stormwater management facilities, you have to, it takes a certain amount of grading, and that needs to match up with, the stormwater management plan to make sure the volume calculations work and all that. But I guess it turns out that there was some discrepancies between those two plans that didn't get caught. The plan got approved one way using grading that wouldn't allow them to reach the volume calculations that the stormwater management plan required. So they graded it per the grading plan, and then ended up with facilities that couldn't capture the amount of water that they were supposed to capture. Again, I've talked to a lot of different folks at the county, and again, I'm confused still, and I've tried to get clear answers, and each person I talk to, I get a little bit different of an answer. So how exactly it slipped through the cracks, I wish I could say for sure, but I had the same questions as you guys. Like I said, I'm still slightly confused as to how we got to where we're at. And again, the fact that then the county the county did give them a thumbs up, green light, go ahead to start retrofitting and changing all these facilities without letting us know, and that's concerning because it's gonna change the approved plan that we have for that for Parkside, and any changes in plans in the PDC district needs planning commission approval.
So why haven't they referred it back to us?
I asked them again, because I guess what happened was it got sent to the stormwater management team at the county, and they gave the developers the thumbs up to, hey, start making these changes. And what the compromise was is they would make these changes, and then without submitting a plan first, and then they're going to submit a plan at the end that shows how the new facilities are built. So the plan shows exactly what was built, the exact amount of volume that they're capturing, but the developers know that they're doing this basically at their own risk, because there's a chance that even after it's built and they submit these as-built plans to the county for review, the county could say no, or we could look at them for whatever reason. We could have an issue with them and make them change it and say no. So I've talked to the developers as well. I've told them that once these plans are done, we're going to have to review them. Our planning commission's going to have to look at them. So they know that it's being done at their own risk. And then I talked to the folks at the county and told them if something like this ever arises again, let us know ahead of time. We should be involved in this process from the beginning. It's work being done in our town that's changing a plan that we have to approve, any changes we have to approve. And No one gave me any pushback on that, but it was already too far gone to a point where they had done a lot of work on retrofitting. If we stopped them in the middle of it, it would have done much more harm than anything. So that's where we're at now. So it's that work's ongoing. I think they're getting pretty close to completion. Last I talked, I went out with one of the grading inspectors last week and did a walk around with him from the county.
So what are they doing?
So basically, they're changing the grade on a few of the management facilities. And some of the grade changes, it's going to require them to add screening and fencing around the facilities because they're making them too steep to not have that. So
there are the facilities like the little pits that they built?
Yeah, so all the little BMPs and small facilities all around them.
Are they digging them deeper?
So they're not necessarily digging them deeper, but they're changing the grade to make them a little steeper.
Okay.
So the grade changing, so that way the thought is they can capture a little bit more volume that way. I know there's one facility where they're adding a retaining wall, which again is going to make the grid 90 degrees, which will in hopes allow them to capture a little bit more. So a lot of it was issues again with the grade that they were built at, and it kind of created a situation where it just didn't hold as much volume as they were initially required to hold. So again, they're going to submit plans once they're done that shows that shows what's built, and then whatever they're still lacking, the county said that they can make up for at Enclave. But again, I'm just not sure how much of a deficit there's going to be. I've asked all the folks I've talked to at the county, and no one knows for sure, and they don't want to speculate too much.
Is a PE going to sign off on anything? A professional engineer, civil, are they going to sign off and say that they agreed to it in any way, shape, or form? Because I can imagine they could come before this body and we would say, tell me why it's not adequate. Right. Like, why would we say yes to something inadequate? Mm-hmm. We would say, well, can you give us any more remediation? Can you dig them deeper? Can you do a different slope? And have an engineer sort of look at that.
So it's my understanding that the developers' engineers are working with the county stormwater engineers to make sure that they're getting the most out of what they have. But again, the issue being that the neighborhood's already built, so they can't really expand any of the facilities too much or make them, there's requirements to the depth, and I'm not privy to all the specifics of that. But like I said, I know the county stormwater engineers and the developers engineers are working together to eventually come up with something that is going to become part of the official plan, that is going to be stamped and signed.
What would happen if presumably they have to come back with a final plan because they didn't follow the original plan to this body for a vote? What would happen if we voted that what they've done is inadequate, even though the county says, well, there's a compromise? What would happen at that point?
That's a good question, and to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure where that would lead us. I can certainly get some guidance from Joe and potentially our town attorneys on a situation like that if it were to arise. It would be, as far as I know, a relatively unprecedented situation, at least here in town. So I just don't know for sure where that would leave us, but I'll get some feedback from some other.
Sounds like a legal mess.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. But again, from everything I've been told at the county, and I made it clear to the developer when I spoke to them too. The county told them that this is being done at their own risk by doing it this way, and I told them the same thing. We're gonna have to approve this plan, so building it first and then submitting it is a risky way to go about it. But that's, like you said, the compromise that they came up with the county, and the county gave them the go ahead before we had an opportunity to even comment on them doing it that way, because the work was halfway done by the time we even found out about it.
So I remember walking over there and taking pictures of the silt that was going across the walkway,
the pathway.
Yeah, the pathway that goes along the side. That's there. I don't know a good way to explain it directionally, but it's the one that's closest to all the residential units. And we reached out to the county at the time and told them, hey, here's a problem. And there was remediation that was contemplated, and I left it there. I'm more nervous about just sort of trusting the process this time.
Right.
Have there been any sort of, with the county conversations that the town's done, any conversations to say, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again when we build out the 47 other units, presuming that that plan hasn't changed?
So I haven't had that specific conversation with them, but it is something that, once we get back into looking at the enclave stuff, I'm gonna be very, I'm gonna be on them about, just like what you said, how do we make sure this isn't happening, and how do we make sure we're not gonna run into the same problem 2 years from now at the enclave that we're dealing with now at Parkside. And I'd like to think that this is a good lesson learned for them, but it's certainly something that any comments, future comments that I give to the county regarding the enclave and any future projects, this is going to be something that I note, just to make sure that everything lines up. And
thank you for that.
Yeah, again, it's been it's been a frustrating process from a staff perspective.
Right,
Again,
sure.
this
I can
is
imagine.
something that once we found out about it, we were like, wait, hold on, what's happening?
Right.
And I had to learn about this after, like I said, it was halfway done, and express that we were taken off guard and kind of disappointed with the fact that we weren't involved with this, because it's something that we should have been involved with from the beginning. We should have had an ability to comment on it. But of course, if the county gives the developer thumbs up, they're just going to go do it. They're not going to turn around and ask us for permission. So that's sort of where we're at with that.
And that's where my frustration's pointed. I know you're having to take the brunt of the questions, but the frustration is at the county with, feels like there was just some, I don't know, lack of oversight or something missed along the way, and now it impacts, a pretty sizable number of our residents within the community as they have to go back in and do additional construction and whatnot. So
I agree, it's definitely significant oversight. And frankly, I'm surprised that we didn't hear it from any of the Parkside residents.
Sure.
I spoke with some of the county folks, and they said that the Parkside residents were calling them, which is another reason that we missed it. A lot of times if something like this is going on, we'll get a phone call from a resident. But one of the reasons sort of went unnoticed, I don't know how they knew or thought to go to the county and not us for it, but that's where a lot of those conversations were happening. But no, I agree, definitely significant oversight. And I think all of our frustrations a little bit shared on that one.
So just to summarize then, it's just Parkside that's going to have the changes of the modifications done.
Yeah.
And Enclave is still, the plan is still the plan. In other words, is there going to be any, as we were just talking about, is there going to be any changes to the Enclave?
So as far as I know, the only potential changes to the enclave will be in their stormwater management plan.
Right.
As far as the layout of the neighborhood, I don't anticipate there being any changes unless, for whatever reason, the stormwater changes end up being much more significant than what most of us are anticipating. Then there would be potential for layout changes, and obviously we would address that if it came up, and you'll have to backtrack and review that stuff. But as of now, the only anticipated change I see for the enclave is in their stormwater plan. But as we know, that was already a pretty significant hurdle for them to kind of clear anyway. They'd gone through a lot of reviews with the county before this happened. So that's the other thing, is I'm not sure, I don't know how far it's going to set them back. It really just depends on how much additional work they're going to have to do. But I got to imagine it's at least going to set them back a few months, because they have to wait, one, for this to be finished, and then they have to see how much more they have to account for at the new development, and then make the changes that they'll have to do there. So so I anticipate sending them back a little bit, but again, it didn't say exactly how long, and I'm just not sure yet.
can you just remind me what we approved for the enclave? Were there any conditional requirements? I can't remember.
So what we've approved so far for Enclave is just their concept plan, which is the plan that laid out the land use
But
percentages.
no civil in that plan necessarily, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just land use percentages. So the preliminary plan, we've looked at it, obviously we've reviewed it, we've talked to the developers about it, but we haven't actually approved anything because we were waiting on the county to approve the stormwater, get all their approvals on that end.
Got it.
That way we could actually look at the final preliminary plan. So that's where we're at there. So again, I anticipate this is going to set them back a little bit on that, just because they're probably going to have to make some changes to their stormwater plan.
I think that we didn't approve the preliminary plan when they wanted us to approve the preliminary.
I said the same when I talked to the developer. I said the same exact thing. I said, you guys asked us to approve this months ago, and it sounds like it's changing now. So I had the same thought. So
That's
I think our protocol of waiting for the county to completely finish their reviews was the right move.
I mean, to your point, it's probably, like, I was tempted to say yes to that.
Very much so. That was
and so-
deliberate. Yeah, think about it. I was giving it
and so,
thought. Yep.
Good to be disciplined about it, so nice job with that.
Yeah, and I do think there might be scenarios in the future where we can potentially give a conditional approval at a time on certain things, but this felt like it just didn't feel like it was appropriate, and so I'm glad that you guys stuck to your guns on that one. But yeah, other than that, that's everything we got going on at the moment. Again, hopefully we start seeing some of this stuff actually get submitted and come before Planning Commission for approval soon. Knowing how things generally work, it'll probably all be at once. So.
I have a question. Baldwin Station, or whatever it's going to be called, or whatever it used to be.
Yeah.
Any progress on that?
So, just a quick recap, because I don't know how much background everyone has on that. But so the town owns the building, but Maryland Historic Trust holds an easement on the building, basically meaning any alterations to the structure have to be approved by the Maryland Historic Trust. So we spent a lot of time working with and I say we, it was mostly Joe and council and the mayor. Spent a lot of time working with an architecture firm, putting together an application showing the alterations that the new leasee wants to do. As far as I know, the Maryland Historic Trust gave us the thumbs up to make those alterations, but obviously they're going to have to review everything along the way once the plans actually get created, to make sure that the plans align with what was actually approved. So as far as I know, we do have, I guess, the green light, so to speak, to start working on the changes that the leasee wants to make and that the town supports. But again, timeline on that is
right.
I'm not really sure, because we got to work with a bunch of different folks to get approvals and make sure everything's being done the right way. So, but it seems like we're moving. The wheels are turning slowly, but they're turning. So.
And some of the detail of that is that they're, at least one of the last plans was that they were looking to drop a floor down and lower it in order to make, the one level all the same.
Right.
And not disparate spaces. It sort of
weird
connects,
steps,
it connects the whole space together, and it makes for a more viable business. So that was some of the reasoning behind it.
Okay. Anything else on the staff report? Any questions? Town updates?
I mentioned it briefly at the beginning of the meeting, but a few folks weren't here, or before the meeting, excuse me, but just the only thing is the Springfield Avenue work. I'm sure everyone's not surprised, but it's behind schedule. So they initially was supposed to be done in the summer. Now we're hearing a fall completion date, but no specific timeline given for that. So it's really just a wait and see, and cross our fingers and hope they can get it done without any more disruptions. But
We live in hope. Anything else,
You're
folks?
very, very intimate with that.
Yes, I am. A lot of noise going up and down. But anyway, it'll get done when it gets done. Anything else? Any questions, issues? Nope. Then, if that's the case, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
everybody.
All in favour?
Aye.
Good to go. All right, thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yes.